So Max Johnson is going to have to go on the road. He's going to have to play in Knoxville, night game. They're doing the checker kneeling thing this weekend. I've been to Neyland Stadium when they've done the checkered thing, and hey, everybody gets into it. So it's definitely going to be a good atmosphere. And I went a few years ago when Tennessee was in the toilet, so and it was loud then. So I think this is going to be a hectic environment. And I honestly started off this week knowing this matchup was coming. I had already made up my mind that I thought Texas A&M was going to get the win here. But the more I think about it, I I just wonder if Tennessee can't follow the same blueprint that Alabama followed last week and try to get this one done. Um, and not to mention, like, I mean, Texas A&M was at home last week. This week they're in Knoxville. They just, I mean, I feel like the air's out of the tires at this point. They just took their second loss. I don't know. I feel like this is a very pivotal game for Texas A&M, and I feel like I say it all the time, but I think this is like a must-win for Texas A&M. But I don't know if everybody's bought in at this point. It's tough. I don't know that I'll actually bet anything on this, but this is a weird matchup. I just feel like we never see Texas A&M play Tennessee. This just even on the matchup sheet, it just doesn't even look right to me. What's your read on this? I just don't know, man. I mean, one thing I do know, if Tennessee, this is what I think it comes down to, and then I'll let you have the floor. But Tennessee, if they can't run the ball, they're going to have a really hard time winning this football game. And Texas A&M has a really good run defense, probably the best front four in the SEC. And I mean, they held Alabama to 30 yards last week, the team that told us they were going to do the murder ball all offseason, which was a joke, but they thought they were going to do that. You know, whoever can win that battle in the trenches, I think, is probably going to walk away with this victory. I think I'm leaning more Tennessee minus 3.5 than I am the other way. So what are your thoughts on this? And we can pull up the stats and take a look.
Yeah, I mean, I like where I still like Texas A&M in this. I think that your initial gut reaction is kind of where I'm still at. Now, this may change come Friday. This is one of those, I do think it's going to be a really close game, kind of a low scoring affair. Tennessee's defense has actually been really good this year.
I'm looking at
And
those numbers. They were way better this year than they were
way
last year.
better. I mean, top
Way.
25 or close in all categories. Even tackles for a loss. They're getting to the quarterback. To me, like you mentioned, Tennessee wants to run the football. They're 6.18 yards per attempt. Oregon, the team we just reviewed, is actually in first, which was a little bit surprising to me considering how good Bo Nix has been. But that what Tennessee wants to do, and we've talked about it all season, they want to spread the field, spread you out on defense, and they want to run it up the middle. And it creates opportunities, but I don't think that's going to work against Texas A&M because of what you mentioned in that front four.
Yeah.
You're not going to spread the defensive line out. So if you don't beat them up front, then you're really not going to have a chance. Now, Tennessee's offensive line has come to play this season. They've only allowed 15 tackles for a loss, which is good for third. And they've obviously been run blocking really well. They've got the second best rush offense in the country. So I think that's really where the test is going to be, is Tennessee's offensive line against Texas A&M's defensive line. I think that's, if you're talking about matchups, that's the one to watch in this game, and that's going to tell you kind of where to put your money if you're trying to live bet or anything like that. Like I said, I mean, I just think that's where the game's going to be won and lost. Texas A&M is first in tackles for a loss with 57, and Tennessee is third in tackles for a loss allowed with 15. So it's good on good right there, and I'm anxious to see who comes out winning that matchup battle. I do think that this is a bad matchup for Tennessee. I think that, Alabama gave Tennessee the blueprint for how to beat Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Tennessee is capable of following that blueprint. And the blueprint is beat them over the top, go deep, intermediate to deep balls, which is exactly what Milton struggles with at Tennessee is intermediate to deep balls. He's just not very accurate. Of course, he's got a huge arm. Everybody knows that. But he hasn't been very accurate. They don't really have the receivers. Brew McCoy is out for the season. So I think that the matchups are not really in Tennessee's favor. And I think that, that's really going to be what decides it. Watching the Texas A&M Alabama game last week, there were some bad play calls and some bad coaching, from the Texas A&M staff in some ways. But I thought that they played a pretty good game, overall. They were in it, for most of the game. And I just feel like, Alabama came with a strong game plan and they were able to execute. But even though they were able to execute, I don't know that Tennessee can, I guess. So that really, to me, is going to be a struggle for Tennessee. I think you got two pretty good defenses, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair. So at 55.5, I think I would still take the under. To me, this is a 27-20 type game, or something like that, 27-23. I like Texas A&M to kind of win it outright today. I'm not betting it today, but I'm gonna sit on my feelings here for a little bit, and we'll see come Friday how I feel. But I may still be feeling good on Texas A&M and ready to take them to win this outright on the money line. But it's going to be a good game, and I think it is going to be a really close one.
Yeah, well, I think you talked me into the under. So I the more and more I sit and think, and that's why we decided that we're going to do our betting show on Friday, everybody. We're going to have our Between the Lines segment on Friday. I mentioned it at the top of the show. We need to have a little bit more time to be able to think about these lines before we bet them. So these are our early in the week reactions, and things do happen that kind of change your thought process. And the more you look at numbers and watch, film and things like that. But I like the defensive struggle here. This is not casual fans. I think still think that Tennessee is like throwing the ball all over the place, and even last year they were pretty balanced, honestly. But this year they're pretty heavy run, even more so. So their success is going to be based on their ability to run the ball on offense. So I think that at least lowers their part of the score and can probably make that under convert